All right, hello everyone, and happy Testimonial Tuesday here at Life of Joy Foundation. This is Joy Cortina, founder of Life of Joy. And here with me today, I have the standing Mrs. Maryland, Kayla Schadegg, and I'm just so excited to welcome her to share her testimony today. This is all kind of to highlight in theme with our July Fitness Challenge, which is all about moving freely. And just kind of breaking free from this last couple of months of craziness that we've had. I know it's been a really stressful time, and Kayla's had most certainly her own experience with some challenges with anxiety. She's had a history with generalized anxiety disorder, right, Kayla? And her journey and her coping mechanism has seemed to be a lot around fitness. And so we wanted to highlight her story today. This is not normally her platform as Mrs. Maryland, but we would love to just welcome you and thank you so much, Kayla, for doing this with us. So tell us a little bit about your story, about your struggle with anxiety, and what fitness has been for you.
Sure. So, like Joy said, I am the reigning Mrs. Maryland America. I am on, I think, month 15 now of my reign, which is extremely abnormal. Usually we only get a year, but coronavirus has done some wonky things to our schedule too. So I'm hanging on to my crown through the end of August for the time being. And my struggle with anxiety goes back about as far as I can remember. I know for sure now that I was struggling with it in middle school and high school. I would imagine that I was probably dealing with it in elementary school in some capacity and just didn't quite remember those details yet. And I have a very funny story about how I discovered that I had anxiety, because I spent a lot of years feeling like everyone must just feel the way that I felt all the time and constantly be worrying and not able to turn their brain off. And I remember sitting in my gen psych class in college, my freshman year. It was the first class I ever went to. And the very first day we opened our books and we started reading about anxiety disorders. And I came across a paragraph about generalized anxiety disorder. And the more that I read, the more that I was like, oh my goodness, this is me in a paragraph. And it struck me that the way that my brain worked was not the way that everyone else's brain was working. And that's why everyone was always telling me just to calm down, just to relax, just to be happy, and like good things would come. So that's when it really clicked for me. And when I really started doing things to actively kind of combat that anxiety and try to kind of cope, instead of just thinking that that's the way that everyone was and that I, for some reason, wasn't able to cope as well as other people were. So at that point, I was about maybe 18 years old. Like I said, I was a freshman in college. I did start incorporating some fitness at that point, but it was more so just for something to do for weight loss, that kind of a thing. I didn't really feel a visceral connection with my anxiety yet, but I also wasn't doing it consistently. I didn't really have a plan. And for most of the time that I was in college, I didn't really do a whole lot to maintain my anxiety and to cope with it. I just mostly acknowledged that it was there, and I guess that in a sense is a coping mechanism, which was nice. But once I graduated college, I literally graduated on December 13th, and by December 29th, I was in a U-Haul moving from Kansas City to Baltimore, Maryland. So I made a huge move 2 weeks after I graduated college to be with my then fiance, now husband. So I went through a lot of very, very big life changes in not a lot amount of time. I graduated college, graduated first in my class, uprooted my entire life, and planted myself 1,200 miles across the country. And that's the point at which I was like, I need to do something. And I wanted to start out with things that I could control first. So I wanted to try fixing it, for lack of a better term, myself, and finding ways that I could manage my anxiety and my own emotions and brain before I tried going to someone else. And my husband is a United States Marine, and he said, hey, let's work out together. Like, well, that'll give you a routine. You love routine. Let's try it. And so he started writing workout programs for me, and I became a total fitness junkie. Like, I lived in the gym. I was there for like an hour and a half or 2 hours a day, and I wasn't like starving myself or doing anything crazy. It just made me really happy. It was something that I really enjoyed. And so I did that for about a year. and then took a new position at work, which required a lot more time-wise of me. And so I kind of fell back on it. And then I got pregnant and I had a beautiful little baby girl in 2016. And my world kind of crashed. She was diagnosed with Down syndrome at birth. And I dealt with a whole lot of things in not a lot of time yet again in my life. So the first year of her life was a total whirlwind. There was no time for the gym. There was no time for me to exist outside of being a mom and being an advocate and absorbing everything that I possibly could when it came to Down syndrome and disability and therapy and just generally being a mom. And by the time that she turned one, when Joy and I had spoken before, I told her, I had lost pretty much everything of myself. I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself anymore, and I mentally didn't recognize myself. I was forgetting things constantly, and I have a steel trap of a memory. So that was like devastating to me. I just didn't feel like me. So when my daughter turned a year old, as my Mother's Day present, my husband got us a gym membership to like the nicest gym that we could possibly go to. We got me a pair of running shoes and I started going back to the gym. And I would say within 2 weeks, I literally felt like a whole new human being. Having something that was routine, putting energy and time back into myself, back into my body, and fueling myself with something that was positive instead of just dredging myself down with all of these things that were heavy and weighted. It was a complete life switch for me. So I went from feeling very depressed, very anxious on a daily basis to still having those feelings, but being able to say, okay, I'm having a really hard day today. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to run a mile. I'm going to lift some weights. And then I can go to therapy or go to the doctor or whatever else I need to do, knowing that I've put some time into me first today to make sure that what I need mentally and physically is taken care of. And that journey has taken me a lot of places. So now, 4 years later, I'm the reigning Mrs. Maryland. I've gotten yet another promotion at work. I still, throughout coronavirus, have managed to keep working out. That was something that was very important to me. My gym has obviously been closed this entire time, but my husband conned me into taking most of our fitness outdoors, which is not usually in my realm of normalcy. I am a treadmill girl, hard and fast. I love my treadmill, but he convinced me that running outside was the way to go. So we've been challenging ourselves with lots of different outdoor workouts and trying a lot of new things to kind of keep my body moving in new and different ways, so that with all of this kind of routine shift that's going on and the craziness and having things taken away constantly during coronavirus, I don't feel like I'm like slipping away from myself at all. I feel very much balanced, which is kind of crazy because I know most people are really struggling. So having that routine has helped me a lot.
That's awesome. Well, and I think your story, I think a lot of people can relate to. We have these big life changes, right? You had this huge move across country, and then you had, the challenge with not just the hormones and everything that comes along with that, with having, a child, but on top of that, working with a special needs child, and I know that's a whole different level. And so, I think a lot of times we get into these places where we might have an underlying struggle to begin with, and then we have these big life changes that I don't think we necessarily are prepared for, and it takes a lot for us to process. And I feel like we're all kind of been dealing with that in a sort of way with this whole pandemic, right? I mean, it's been a huge life change, and I don't think a lot of people have given themselves maybe enough grace to work through that as being such a big life change, and it's taking away so many routines, so many activities that we rely on for wellness and that we rely on for that connection, the social connection. So I just really appreciate your story. I think it's so fitting for just what we're working through, really, just as a global society. This whole pandemic, and just how challenging I think that's been for everybody, on top of regular life stuff that we have, challenges with. And I know you and I really connected on just the whole mind, body, spirit focus of Life of Joy. So can you speak just a touch on just how that really connected with you, and what that means to you, the whole mind, body, spirit wellness?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think I said it earlier, but to me, a huge part of the fitness element that I think has helped me so much is that instead of fueling my body with those anxious thoughts that, I am still weighed down with daily. It's not like I go for a run and magically I don't have anxiety anymore. That's not how it works. But instead of fueling my body with those things, I'm fueling my body with what I'm putting into it. So if I'm eating healthy and I'm, also allowing myself some grace when it comes to what I eat. So I do eat a really healthy diet, but if we have a family celebration, I'm not going to stare at a piece of cake and not eat it. I give myself a lot of grace when it comes to my diet and I let myself, have treats and enjoy food. It's not a negative thing for me. I love food and I definitely eat what I want when I want a lot of the time. Fueling my body with running and kayaking and hiking and lifting weights and doing whatever it is that I feel like doing to put some energy and work into my body, having those things counterbalances that anxiety. So, on one hand, you the anxiety that's weighing heavily, but on the other hand, when you're fueling your body and putting that time and effort into yourself and to, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, having that 15 minutes that's just about doing something that's good for you, whether it's mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, if you're eating something and treating yourself, that really counterbalances for me. So, they go like this, but at the end of the day, if they've evened out and I've put in enough on my own time to kind of counterbalance that anxiety and maybe negativity that's been put into my day, then it ends up a good day. So,
Awesome. Well, yeah, it is. It's all very much connected, and I love too that you mentioned all the great outdoor stuff that you guys are doing because that's the week that we're headed into with our fitness challenge. So tomorrow we kick off our Great Outdoors Week for our July Fitness Challenge. So I have just a little personal question for you: is what's one of your favorite outdoor activities that your husband has been making you do?
I am not an outdoorsman by trade, but I do love being outside. I am a sunshine girl. Like I grew up in a landlocked state, so being able to be outdoors anywhere near water has been amazing. So we've been doing a lot of running, and our run path goes right along a river, which is great because then at the end of the run, we literally just like take off our shoes and go wade into the water and cool off. But my husband bought 2 kayaks last summer, and actually over this weekend is the first time I've ever gone out on the kayaks. So I got to go kayaking, and that is officially my new favorite quarantine activity. I was joking with him. I said it's the perfect quarantine activity because if anybody gets within 6 feet of you on the water, you just push them away with your paddle, and then you keep going.
It's an easy way to keep socially distanced. Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was really fun. We have 2 kayaks, so we were able to take our daughter out with us too. So she sat with my husband in the inflatable kayak because it's a little bit bigger, and then I took the hard-sided one. So we got to go out as a whole family. So that was extra fun because I got to have her along for a fun outdoor activity too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's actually something that we'll be featuring is a lot of those family group activities that you can do with those that you are in quarantine with. And, it's such a blessing that we can, do a lot of outdoor activities with other folks, whereas a lot of times when you're hitting a gym, it's more kind of an individual thing or maybe with just a workout buddy or something. Whereas this is really some time that we can take as a family. And on that note, I do want to take a second just to acknowledge I love the platform that you work with for Down syndrome. And so if you want to maybe just say something about that and then we'll close out.
Sure. So my platform in Maryland is called Strong Over Wrong. It is based in my diagnosis experience when my daughter was born. So she was born at Howard County General here in Maryland in 2016. And when she was diagnosed, contrary to several different requirements for medical facilities at that time, we were not given any information about Down syndrome. We weren't given any connections to local organizations or references or the social worker, really anything. We walked out very empty handed. And luckily, I have a background in education. I have a younger sister with special needs. So I was in a pretty solid position to connect myself and to do some deep digging and find the people that I needed to find. But unfortunately, there are a lot of families that are not in that position, and they're walking out very empty handed and walking out feeling very confused and lost, and they don't know where to begin because, as you can imagine, you just had a baby, you have a whole lot of hormones, and you also now have the potential postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and on top of all of that, you just found out that your child has a lifelong disability. So my mission with Strong Over Wrong has been and will continue to be to increase the medical outreach of Down syndrome organizations to medical professionals in their communities and nationwide, to make sure that those medical professionals not only have access to the materials that they need, which they already do, but that they're actually utilizing them, and that they hear the stories of families with Down syndrome. So when they are presenting those diagnoses, whether it's pre or post natal, they're making sure that they're offering that information in a compassionate and up-to-date manner, because a lot of times it does end up coming out without a lot of bedside manner and with a lot of out-of-date information. So I want to make sure that families are getting a fair chance at the up-to-date and compassionate diagnosis they deserve.
That's such great work. I mean, it's so important. And I think there's a lot of different areas where that's needed. It's certainly needed in the mental health arena as well. And so it very much aligns with kind of our philosophy of really building these holistic care teams, that we're looking to build over the course of time, and just getting everybody kind of on the same page, when it comes to mental health, and looking at it from that holistic view, and getting kind of everybody from the family members to the medical care team all together, so that they're really working together for the client, as a team, because a lot of times there's just so many resources that just aren't people aren't even aware of. And so thank you so much. I so appreciate your time and your story, and I'm so excited to just celebrate these last few weeks, months, right, that you have with you of your reigning crown, which I love that you've come to the screen with it. And so I just, I'm sorry.
Oh, I said the crown goes everywhere. Yes.
Yes, of course. You got to rock it while you've got it. So we're so grateful, that you've been able to just work through, and find your own path to wellness, your own way of coping with the anxiety. And I so appreciate your transparency with that, and what you're doing, and I'm just amazed at what you've been able to do with your platform. So thank you for taking a minute to support us with ours. And with that, we would just invite everybody who maybe would like to just be a part of our July Fitness Challenge. You guys, it's nothing crazy, but it's just giving you some fresh ideas for each week as we kind of break out of the quarantine status and get outdoors for a little bit. We have that week this week, and then we have we're going to do a move and groove week where we're integrating a lot of music kind of stuff the third week, and then we're going to close out with some strength training. So maybe we'll have you back to talk a little bit about that, Kayla. And thank you so much again for your time. And if everybody wants to join in on the challenge, just join our community group that you can find through the link on our main page here. And we hope that you'll join in and see what we're doing here at Life of Joy. Thank you so much, Kayla. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll be collaborating again. Have a great day, everybody.